Catholics like that word mystery. People are drawn to it. There's something here, and they sense that, and I sense it. I was raised in Phoenix, Arizona, and all the priests there were from Ireland. And so I thought for a long time you had to be from Ireland and have a brogue.
I started seriously praying and thinking about the priesthood, and even talked to my dad and found out he, at the same age, was thinking the same thing.
Mass was in Latin then, and it nourished my faith and helped me to want to be an active Catholic, I believe. And it was maybe around 8th grade when I first thought about being a priest.
There was an interior part of me that was not being fed, and I began to ask myself about something that kind of I thought about since high school off and on, and that was the possibility of being a priest.
When I was transferred to Oklahoma by the company I was working for, that's when God kind of just tapped me on the shoulder and said, I want you, and He got me.
My question that I had to myself was, am I overly old, shall we say, to go to the seminary? So I went to the seminary when I was 43.
My parents were so interested to send to the seminary. They told me before sending to the seminary to become priest. Becoming priest in the family is a blessing.
I knew very clearly in my mind I wanted to get away from the house. The best way out was go to this school where these priests of ours come from, St. Gregory's in Oklahoma. Might want to become a priest out there or something. My first experience here was there were no mountains, everything was flat. I didn't even ask about the beach.
My background is that I was in an orphanage for 12 years and a foster family for 4. The orphanage was in St. Joseph's Home in Bethany, Oklahoma. I was placed there when I was probably maybe a year and a half old. That doesn't have to cause you to be defeated. Life is to be enjoyed, and give yourself the opportunity and the permission to see it and enjoy it.
My prayer life always makes me joy.
I think that's where I find my most joyful moments, being around people.
And to be a part of their community as a fellow person on the journey. Seeing their faith has actually strengthened my faith.
Being able to witness the movement of God's Spirit in the lives of people of faith. We hear so much bad news today, but I see so much good news. I just look out on our church and see faces and people from every corner of the earth, and it's just I think it's a wonderful sign of where the world has to go.
Now we have a lot of young families, and they're coming, and they're starting to step up. Not that it was easy to get them to do that, but they're starting to step up.
There is something very positive in being a Catholic priest out there working with the people. They will affirm you. Sometimes they'll take you to task.
If I preach more than 15 minutes, they will tell, Father, you are preaching a long homily. Please. The people are so good, very sincere and lovable.
The experience of getting to know families, to journey with them, boy, that's been a real joy.
The bishop called the monastery asking for help for prison work. He asked, do you have anybody that speaks Spanish and gets along well with criminals? And everybody looked at each other and said, get Father Manuel, he's in East LA. So it was at FCI El Reno. I thought of myself as a missionary, working up and down Highway 40, Interstate 40, and Highway 81. Got in the car, went from town to town, farm to farm. The pastors would say, well, we don't need you. We don't have any Hispanics. They were there.
I would say one of the great joys of my ministry is ministering to the Spanish-speaking Catholics of our Archdiocese.
Every November I lead pilgrimages. I started out leading pilgrimages with Father Roberto Quant. I go out to Our Lady of Guadalupe summer camp. I think they see a human side of priesthood with that, and I think that enhances it even more.
I was at Mount St. Mary's for my first 8 years. Probably the best part of my experience during my time at Mount St. Mary's was helping to bring the Kairos retreat.
Every community was wonderful that I've served in, and I never asked to go to any one particular parish.
I also was a scout leader working with boys for several years, and it's just good to see them growing and developing and becoming leaders.
I'm always waiting for the call. If anybody comes and asks some help, I'm ready to go. That is my ministry always.
I'm bi-ritual in the sense that I celebrate the Latin or Roman liturgy and Byzantine liturgy. There's about 250,000 Byzantine Catholics in the United States, and there's about 16 families in southwestern Oklahoma. The light's brighter in the east, and the light, we say, comes from the east, and Christ is the light of the east. That's where I draw the inspiration for my priesthood and how I live it.
Serving in the office of worship has been a big highlight for me. When you have a wonderful Mass filled with a packed church at the cathedral, it's really a way of seeing how God is working in our community and among our priests and people gathered. The liturgy done well is what's important. And when it's done well and the people come together in prayer, then we all grow in faith. Our faith is deepened.
My faith seems to be focusing on different things now than I've ever done before.
We were baptized to live our faith, to become Christ-like, and to show Christ to each other.
Without pain, there is no gain. The priest has to suffer. Priest has to face problems. Then only he will receive blessing.
Honestly, the greatest mystery in my life is why God would call me to the priesthood. I know myself, I'm not that great a Christian.
Faith is a gift that's given and it's always there, but I think there's nurturing, and there was a period of my life, unfortunately, that wasn't being nurtured at all.
God is patient, patient with me as I keep growing and learning in my ministry, and patient with the people that God has given me as we all kind of wander on our various paths, crooked, that God somehow makes straight.
I think it's fascinating to study the history of the church, especially in Oklahoma, since I'm from Oklahoma, how it developed from and grew from, nothing. How did they ever persevere in sharing the faith? And I think the perseverance was because they were dedicated to serving Christ.
At times it's a struggle to be Catholic in a non-Catholic community. But that's part of the call of our faith, to live our faith.
Catholics are a very small minority in Oklahoma, but I think we are a very powerful minority. The church is a witness to the Oklahoma City community. And so people look up to the Catholic Church, I believe. I think the real important thing is what happens when we leave the church, because we have just received Christ through the Eucharist, and now we're called to take him to the world.
We have to be a church that goes out to people. We just can't sit back anymore and wait for them to come to us.
There could be a lot more growth. We as Catholics are not very good about spreading the good news.
We're searching for where we belong, how we fit in, how we reach people.
I see things now that I haven't seen before as far as my own need for my faith life. You cannot experience God just one way. You have to keep searching for him. And the deeper you get into that vision of God, the more you have in common with everybody else.
Sometimes I wonder, and I just have this open conversation. I mean, really? and I'll have those little open conversations with him. And I know he's not going to answer me, but I just feel like, okay, I'm going to get out of my system.
Praying shapes believing. There are times that I wonder where he is, if he's present. Faith is trusting and hoping and believing that he is present and that he somehow is going to act.
I embraced the idea that I could serve the Lord by becoming a priest and serving the people of God. And so to me, I still think that's a great decision.
I have made that my priesthood, to be joyful and to show God's presence through my joy.
Before my diaconate, I decided if I become priest, that I must be holy person. If not, what is the use of becoming priest?
25 years doesn't seem all that long to me. Somebody comes up to me and says, my parents say you baptized me. And I said, oh, really?
I had no idea of the great gift it would be. You know, as a young priest, I look back and go, how do you tell? How do you tell guys that if God calls you, it's more than anything.
I fall short. I fall short a lot, but I really believe that he's chosen me. I sometimes think that others might wonder why, but at the end of the day, this is the best way that I think I can serve Jesus.